Can you tell us anything more about the latest on the front lines?
Well, a few days ago, the Ukrainian army was congratulating itself on having pushed the Russians back from the outskirts of Vovchansk. Today, they're saying that the area of the town north of the river that divides it is a grey zone with ongoing battles. This attempt by Russia to take Vovchansk is clearly ongoing, and a lot of the city centre is actually north of the river. Correspondents who've been there and aerial photography that I've seen shows that the city is being really destroyed in much the same way as Bakhmut or Severodonetsk or other towns that Russia has tried to take using some kind of scorched earth tactic. These glided aerial bombs, which do huge amount of damage, falling on Vovchansk at a rate of sometimes as many as 20 per day. We shouldn't perhaps exaggerate the importance of it, though. There were fewer than 20,000 inhabitants in Vovchansk before the full-scale invasion started, so it's not even on the scale of something like Bakhmut, which was itself not a very big town. And Chasiv Yar, similar size to Vovchansk, remains much, much more strategically important in terms of the Russians' core objective, which remains, I think, to take as a priority the rest of the part of Donetsk region that it doesn't yet control. And they're still pushing forward there, even as this offensive in the north continues, leading people to still really stick to the original assessment that the scope of this attack on the north is not to try to move towards Kharkiv or really take substantial amounts of territory in Kharkiv region, but more to weaken Ukraine's defences further to the south by forcing them to defend towns like Vovchansk and parts of Kharkiv region, so that they're ever more thinly stretched along the front lines. And it looks like the Russians are trying to do something similar in Sumy region, amassing forces on the border. That's a region to the northwest of Kharkiv region, still on the border with Russia. There's speculation that they might mount a cross-border attack there as well, but even just amassing forces on the border obliges Ukraine to have more defensive units there in Sumy region, units that might otherwise be deployed to Donetsk region.
And Gulliver, Volodymyr Zelensky, we heard him a little earlier, his political mandate officially ended yesterday, but so far no plans for new elections.
Well, the Constitution says that the term ended yesterday, but the Constitution also says that when martial law is in force in Ukraine, no elections can be held. And it says that after the end of the president's term, the next president takes office after he's been duly and fairly elected. So legal analysts say that the way to read this is that the Constitution clearly states that Volodymyr Zelensky must stay in office until new elections can be held. And there is still a very, very broad consensus in Ukraine that elections can't be held while this full-scale war is ongoing. So many people are outside the country. So many people are on occupied territories. There's so much physical danger for people's security in the idea of organising elections, having people going to polling stations, not to mention the huge opportunity it would be for Russia to politically exploit the situation in terms of its information war. And so even, opponents, the most sort of vocal political opponents of Volodymyr Zelensky publicly aren't saying that he should step down or anything like that. But there are bloggers, influencers who it's believed are in the pay of these political forces who are, casting doubts over Volodymyr Zelensky's legitimacy. And all this is happening at a time when his popularity rating has fallen significantly in Ukraine. In 2022, it was soaring above 90% even. Today, there have been several polls that show that he would actually lose an election if there were to be a presidential election held anytime soon, not to Petro Poroshenko, who's officially his closest political opponent, the former president, but to Valery Zaluzhny, the former top general of the Ukrainian armed forces, whom Zelensky fired earlier this year.
Gulliver Cragg reporting live there from Kyiv. Thank you very much.